The Sky This Month with your host, Dave McDonald.
Welcome to The Sky This Month. I'm your host, Dave McDonald, and we're talking about the end of May. We have so many wonderful things to talk about, and two highlights of this show are going to be talking about Alan Shepard and the 63rd anniversary of his first flight as the first American to go into space. And we're going to be talking about the burial of the time capsule that was buried subsequent to the April 8th eclipse and what the time capsule holds for the future. And I have a couple of esteemed guests, Tyler Flanagan, who is the Secretary and Treasurer of the Belmont High School Astronomy Club, and Baden Lewis, who is our Vice President of the Astronomy Club. And so we're going to start off by talking about the time capsule. So Baden, let me welcome you to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm glad that you are able to be here, and this is your first appearance on our show.
Yes, it is.
And
Excited.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So you were there for the burial of the time capsule.
Yes, I was. It was an amazing experience, an amazing thing to be a part of.
And for you, Baden, what would you say was a highlight for you about being there for the burial of the time capsule?
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably the best thing for me was being able to put it into the ground with Tyler sitting next to me. It was a really fun experience being able to be the last ones to touch those relics for 55 years, and hopefully in 55 years we'll be the ones to pull it out.
I hope that comes to pass, and be sure to let me know if it happens.
All right.
So that's really neat. So you were witness to some of the things that were buried into the time capsule. What would, in your opinion, what were a couple of the memorable things that some people buried?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be a little bit biased here.
Okay.
The photo of the BHS Astronomy Club from this year that we put in there, personally, I wrote on the back of one of these and signed my name on here, so I would say for me personally, it would definitely be this one. Another thing I would say is a letter from Governor Chris Sununu that he wrote to, I believe it's for the governor in 55 years to read.
Yeah.
That I thought was a really cool idea. And then one of my close friends, Evan Christensen, put in a photo from 55 years ago that he put into the time capsule, so that in another 55 years we'll have a photo that's 110 years old. And along with that, he also put in photos that he had taken just a couple of months ago or a year ago, so that we'll have 55-year-old photos for other people to enjoy in 55 years.
That's awesome, and I hope that Evan will be able to be there along with you guys.
Sure.
That would be really, really neat. And so, yeah, let's show a couple of video clips relative to those things that Baden just spoke about.
One more item I just want to show everyone. This is actually a letter from the governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, and he wrote a letter that's really cool. It's to his future potentially relative, maybe not, whoever is governor in 2078, 2079, will be able to read this letter to citizens of New Hampshire. So some very exciting material in here, and hopefully through the years, we'll be letting people know what's in there, and then everyone can show up before the next eclipse and use all this material to plan, prepare, and celebrate for another sight of a lifetime.
I have a letter and then some photos. My favorite photo is one that I have from 55 years ago, because they're going to be opening this in 55 years, making it 110 years old then. And I also have a photo of myself and some information about myself and some stories behind some of the photos.
One thing that I thought was interesting was the camera that one of the teachers wanted to have buried in. She's a Spanish teacher, and I understand that you are in her Spanish class. And can you share a little bit about the significance of the plan of burying that laptop camera?
Yeah, so it was kind of on a little bit of a whim. So it was the day of the time capsule burial, and I was talking to her in class about how we were doing this. And she thought it'd be a great idea if she put something in there, because she actually got to witness one of the eclipses in the 70s in South America. She was down there and got to witness them. She looked through her scrapbooks, couldn't find any of the photos from that day, but she thought it would be a great idea to put her laptop camera that she used during COVID-19 era. And honestly, I thought it was the perfect thing to put in there. She was thinking of some other things, but at the end of the day, I think it was the best option, and it will probably give people a little bit of a head scratcher when they pull it out of the dirt.
Yeah, I think it will. And along with the head scratcher, one of the things that I had put in was a flash drive that had on it, or has on it, a little bit of the Astronomy Club video that we did to introduce the eclipse that was coming up on April 8th, and then the television show and the end results of the eclipse that happened during April 8th in Pittsburgh. And so that's all on the flash drive. And so a question I had on the index card that I put in the baggie with the flash drive is, do you even know what this is? And then we hope that they will have the technology to be able to, read it and get the information and watch the video and the pictures that are on it. So I thought that was really cool. So you mentioned already about the fact that you got to, you and Tyler got to bury the actual time capsule with the contents. Talk a little bit about what that was like, carrying it out to the crypt and then actually burying it. What thoughts did you have before it actually happened and then after it happened? Because as you mentioned, you were like the last ones to touch it.
Yeah. Well, at first I didn't know Tyler and I were going to be the ones to bury it. It was kind of a quick on the whim thing. One of the ladies in there went, we need 2 guys to carry it out there, and me and him were like, might as well.
Baden, one thing that I thought was interesting, because I witnessed you and others signing Eclipse glasses, and so why would you do such a thing, sign Eclipse glasses?
Well, it was another thing to do that gives you another chance to be remembered when you pull it out of the capsule. We also had a couple of people that we brought on the last minute, so we wanted to have something there that they could be able to do, and other members that weren't at when this photo was taken, a couple of the people that weren't there that day got to sign Eclipse glasses to simulate and so that they could feel also represented in the capsule itself. So we also thought we might as well put 50 or 60 Eclipse glasses in there, because who knows, they could be shorthanded in 55 years on Eclipse glasses, or who knows, maybe they'll have just something that you can just go like that and all of a sudden you can see the sun. But
who knows, maybe special contact lenses or something.
Yeah, you never know. Show them the old school way of doing it.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome for you guys to be such forward thinkers on that. And Tyler, who I'll introduce in a moment for the talk about Alan Shepard, but he actually is demonstrating the Eclipse glasses that we put into the time capsule. So why don't we roll that short video clip. Okay, I have with me Tyler Flanagan, who is a senior at Belmont High School, as was and is Baden. And Tyler is the secretary-treasurer of the Astronomy Club in Belmont High School. And you've got, it looks like Eclipse glasses in your hands. Tyler, what's that all about?
I do. So some students tag these with their names, not only to remember, but put them in the ground. And once we do, they'll be able to use them on the date of the eclipse. It's pretty cool. I mean, they have dates. I can show you. They have dates, names, anything to remember their kids or them by if they're around. But yeah, it should be pretty cool.
And so I hope that you enjoyed our chat with Baden here and some of the neat things that happened at the burial of the time capsule to be unearthed. We're hoping April 8th, 2079. So Baden and Tyler, you guys are in charge of seeing that it happens on April 8th. And that'll give people a few weeks to get ramped up for the next total eclipse in New Hampshire on May 1st, 2079. And then I have a few interviews. I'll just share some interviews with you relative to the burial of the time capsule while we're at the time capsule. So enjoy these interviews. And Baden, thanks so much for being part of our show.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Good, glad you came. All right, so here we go, putting the lid on the crypt, not to be seen, open again for 55 years, in theory, April 8th, 2079. And there it is! All right. Done.
This is one of those rare experiences that we all could do last month, but we all won't be here to enjoy it. You may be. So I do hope that you are leading the charge and helping to inspire all of the young people to get involved and be part of this experience, because it's really incredible.
Yeah.
And thank you, Rick, and thank you to all of you for putting this together, because this is amazing.
It was a team effort.
Yeah, it's really, really great.
And can I ask, sir, your name and position?
My name is Brian Conley. I'm the principal and superintendent of the Hill School District. I'm a lover of science. I taught 8th grade earth science for 14 years in Laconia, so I have a deep affinity for this. And this was my second eclipse that I was able to experience. And we'll try to catch as many more as long as I can.
I'm here with Jean Jarolskis, the executive director of the McCall Shepard Discovery Center. Jean, what do you think about this cool event today?
Oh, it's really wonderful. You know, I am retiring this year, and I told the board that I wanted to have one more eclipse under my belt before I retired. But I'd spend a few more months wrapping things up, and then this is just such a wonderful surprise to have to continue the delight and wonder of an eclipse, to have this time capsule and know that people in the future, just as people millennia ago, will be enjoying an eclipse and will have helped them a little bit to appreciate it.
And it is really so nice for us and the young people and the older people, yourself, myself, all of us, my wife here, to be able to speak to the future.
I know, to feel that we continue on in some way, that our spirit and the things we really care about, that we pass on to our children, but we'll pass on to all the children who will be adults who will pass it on to their children. Just the wonders of the universe.
Well spoken, Jean.
Thank you, David. Thank you for thinking of this. This is such a wonderful project.
Great, thank you. I'm here with Chris Smith. Chris is the president of the New Hampshire Astronomical Society. And Chris, thank you for being here for this event. What did you think of the whole thing?
Amazing. Kind of the build up to the eclipse itself was just unreal. The actual experience of the eclipse was absolutely majestic. And then when it seems like the hype is over, all of a sudden there's now the time capsule experience of being able to capture those memories and just the hope for the future generation that opens that up, the future folks who get to experience an eclipse under their home skies, and then, you know, prior to dig this up and see all of this. It's amazing to be part of this collective experience and just take in as much of it as I can as it's happening.
And as I've mentioned before, it's an opportunity for us to speak into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Sending hopes for peaceful times, clear skies, and especially on Eclipse Day in 2079, being able to see totality. Yeah.
Yes, may it be so. I hope a lot of people get to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm here with Ricky Yeames, and he is now 32 years old, looking to be 87 when this is unearthed. So what kind of an experience is this been, and what kind of an experience are you looking forward to, Ricky?
It's a pretty cool experience. It's like we get to time travel, huh? Call it Back to the Future. Well, I get to. I'm not sure about you. But hopefully I'll still be alive and kicking and not sleeping with the daisies. So
I hope
can't wait.
that is true. And what do you think you might feel as this is opened in 55 years from now?
Nostalgia. Yeah. Get to reminisce. Think back to this solar eclipse.
It was a good time because, as we saw in last month's the sky this month, you were there,
Beautiful.
we were there, and that was a great experience.
And I want to experience that again. I'm sure you do too. We got to chase them.
I'm here with Rick Eames as we look at this hole being filled in and the time capsule is literally being buried. What did you think of the experience today, Rick?
It was a lot of fun. It got really busy there at the end. It wasn't too busy early on in the day, but then all of a sudden as we got closer to the actual burial point, it got busy. So it was good. But excited to take everything we've done here in New Hampshire and the U.S. global, and looking forward to it. After a little break.
Yes. Thanks so much. And it was a pleasure working with you and helping this event to take place.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave McDonald for The Sky This Month. Lastly, for myself, my wife and I have this note to our daughter, Sally Rose McDonald, and so there's a special note for her, and hopefully she will get this in 55 years. The plan is to open the vault on April 8th, 2079, so we have a few weeks to get ready for the big New Hampshire eclipse on May 1st, 2079. Dave McDonald reporting. Well, I hope you enjoyed those interviews, and the whole event of burying that time capsule was, as you heard, just a very, very special event. And it's great that so many people were able to come and enjoy it in person. And depending on your age, how about you guys put it down on your calendar, right? April 8th, 2079, to be at the McAuliffe Shepard Discovery Center and be part of the unearthing of the time capsule and see what special things are located in that. So we've shuffled seats around a little bit, and as we ended with one of the clips with Tyler talking about the eclipse glasses, here is Tyler Flanagan in person. And welcome again to the show, Tyler.
Feels good. Third time here. Feels pretty great. I like it here. It's fun.
Nice, nice. It's like you're feeling at home.
Yeah, second home, yeah.
Which is really nice. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, one of the neat things about May is it's the anniversary month of Alan Shepard's first American to go into space. So Tyler, tell us a little bit about Alan Shepard and why this is important to take note of in May.
Sure. Yeah, so as Mr. McDonald stated, this is the 63rd year this month. It happened on May 5th, so we're a little late, but it's okay. But yeah, this is the 63rd anniversary of Alan Shepard, first American in space. So who is Alan Shepard? He was an American astronaut born in 1923 and unfortunately died in 1998.
Yeah, I think he died of cancer, if I remember.
I was going to say it's a little premature. He was a little young, yeah. So, a fun fact I feel like not a lot of people know about, unless you're into the astronomy, is he was actually born right here in our home state of New Hampshire, about 35 minutes in East Derry, which is pretty cool. Small state like us, we don't have a lot to represent us, so that's a cool little fact. He was married to Louise Brewer, and they had 2 kids together, Russell and Julia Brewer. He's an extremely important person. He changed space, really, for Americans. He was the second man to space. So he was the first American, second man. So he didn't get there first, but it's what matters.
Yep, and the first person was a Russian, Yuri Gagarin, and I think it was just like 3 weeks earlier, 3 weeks before Alan went up, that Yuri Gagarin went up to be the first human to go into space. So but it's a great honor, obviously, for Alan Shepard. And just as a quick commercial, we have the McAuliffe Shepard Discovery Center in Concord, New Hampshire. Concord is the capital of New Hampshire, where the state where, as Tyler said, Alan Shepard was born. And the McAuliffe Shepard Discovery Center is a living memorial, if you will, for both Krista McAuliffe and Alan Shepard. And if you get a chance, please come on down, up, over, to Concord, New Hampshire, and visit. It's a great museum. It's a great science discovery center. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, Tyler.
Oh, no worries.
Continue
No worries.
along.
So he became the 5th person on the moon, and to this day, he's still the oldest person to walk on the moon at 47 years old. So that's the same age as my dad. I can't see my dad walking on the moon right now. His classifications to man the shuttle, he was, or the rocket, sorry. He was a U.S. Navy test pilot. So what he used to get there, he solo piloted the Mercury Redstone 3 Freedom 7. This is the first American spacecraft that took a man to space and returned him safely.
And an interesting side point on that is we didn't have like rockets that were being built to bring people into space.
Yep.
But you know, in the Cold War era, we had ballistic missiles.
Right.
So somebody had the bright idea. Well, let's just take a missile nose cone off and put a person on. It's that simple.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah. Okay. So on April 18th, 1961, that was the first simulated flight launch at the pad, and then honestly, not that much later, about a month later, it was the real launch, and that took him to space.
What was the date of that one?
May 5th, 1961. Sorry, I had to
yeah.
add that. I thought this was an interesting piece of information. First of all, these two rockets are, this is the Mercury Freedom 7 that he manned to get to space. Back in 1961, this cost 277 million contemporary US dollars to build. Nowadays, with inflation and other things, it would cost $2.2 billion. So that's just, I guess, a look of how expensive one of these missions really is.
We got such a good deal out of it. And his flight was just like a 15-minute flight. He didn't go into orbit. He just went up into space and came back down, splashed down. It was about a 15-minute flight for him. And then Gus Grissom was the second person that also went up on a Mercury Redstone, up and down. And then we will go on to get into orbit with John Glenn, who was the third person to go into space, but he got to orbit Earth. And that's really interesting, Tyler, about the prices there, the cost.
Yeah, it's really a shock how much inflation affects things like that.
So I think we got our good bang for our buck back then.
I think we did too. Decent price. So this is what happened after the flight. Since it was such a big deal, obviously, first American in space, it deserved a big award. So on his return, he was honored, Shepard was honored with parades in Washington, New York, and LA. He was awarded with NASA Distinguished Service Medal for his Mercury flight by President Kennedy in a ceremony at the White House. And that picture in the bottom right, that's the medal that he was awarded.
And I think is a great transition to what you're going to be talking about next in terms of Alan Shepard, is it was because of Alan Shepard's flight on May 5th, 1961, that not too long afterwards, President Kennedy, that you mentioned, that awarded him the medal, gave America the challenge to land a person on the moon and return him safely back to Earth by the end of the decade. What a challenge, to going up into space for a 15-minute flight, to going to the moon, walking on the moon, and coming back safely, and getting all that done in like 9 years or less.
Really?
What a challenge.
It's a big accomplishment.
And it happened. And one of the people who happened to end up walking on the moon was
Alan Shepard.
son of a gun.
So this is the Apollo 14 rocket. This is the second and final rocket, or spacecraft, I guess, that he was on. This landed on a different part of the moon called the Fuamaro region. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I think it's Fra Moro.
Yeah, something like that. Spell it out, you know. A little backstory on why it was named that. Fra Mauro in the 1400s was a cartographer who cartographed the most detailed map of the Earth at that time. And I guess they just felt inspired. So they named it right after him.
And the rocket that you see sitting on the launch pad there, the Saturn V rocket, that's, if you were to lay it down, is longer than a football field.
Yeah.
It's a very, and if you ever get the chance to go to the Kennedy Space Center, there's a full-size rocket, actually an actual rocket that's just unused, that's there at the Kennedy Space Center, and you can see what a massive vehicle that was. And just that little piece on the top is the Apollo capsule, where Alan Shepard and his other two companions, and that's all that came back to Earth.
This is a little fun fact. I think some people should know. He is the best golfer in all the cosmos. Maybe except from Tiger Woods. But he brought a golf club and 2 golf balls with him on this trip. He shanked the first one into a crater not far away, so that's why he brought 2, I guess. His second shot was a little better. In 1961, he hit the golf ball a pretty decent 200 meters across the moon. But reevaluation in 2021 suggested that he only hit it 40 meters, so not as good, but still the best shot out of the Earth. So.
And that's better than iGolf anyway.
And that's all I have about Alan Shepard.
Okay, well, Tyler, that was great, because it's important, I think, every year in May to remember Alan Shepard and his accomplishments and what he did for us in the space age.
Definitely.
And all, and being part of the moonwalkers, as you said, I think the fifth person to walk on the moon, and there was a total of 12, so he's in the top half. And such. So, Tyler, thanks so much for being with us.
Of course, I love it here.
And we plan to have you back.
Great, yeah.
And just before we go, because you were there with Baden and were the other person to actually
second last person to touch it.
yeah, second last bit. So just a quick comment from you about your time capsule burial experience.
Oh, it's a great idea. I don't know who came up with the idea exactly, but it's a really good way to capture the time zones from obviously 55 years now to 55 years in the future. I think it's just a great way to show what it was like now versus then, and a great, I guess, timestamp and great event, I guess, that to mark the time with. Yeah,
and it's neat that you were able to be part of that.
Yeah, it felt great. Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do now is show you a couple things that are going on in the night sky.
All right.
Okay?
So let's start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that chat with Baden and Tyler. Neat things. It's neat things going on in the month of May. And so now we'll talk a little bit about what you can see in the later May sky. This happens to be May 23rd that I have chosen here to project for you. And what we have here is the Big Dipper. You can see that overhead. There's a lot of information on this, this slide. So it goes from overhead. The Big Dipper is going to be overhead, and we're talking in the realm of 9 o'clock to 9:30 at night. The Big Dipper's overhead. And what I want to show you is to find 2 particular stars and their colors. So you find the Big Dipper and you see how the handle of the Big Dipper makes an arc. We're going to take that arc of the handle of the Big Dipper and we're going to follow that arc till we get down to this star named Arcturus. So we arc to Arcturus. Arcturus is a red star, which means it's cool. It has, for stars, a low temperature, and Arcturus is very bright. It's in the top 5 brightest stars in the sky in either hemisphere, and it's what we call a magnitude 0 star. Magnitudes are a measure of brightness. The smaller or the lower the number, or the more negative the number, the brighter the object. And the higher the number, the dimmer the object, and each magnitude is a difference of 2.5 times. So Arcturus is a magnitude 0 star, and it is in the constellation of Boötes the herdsman, but the way I have the stars connected here, to me it kind of looks like an ice cream cone or maybe an ice cream sundae. And then off to, as you look at it, off to the left here, you have this kind of U shape, which kind of looks like a tiara or a crown, and that is in fact Corona Borealis, the northern crown. Kind of looks like a tiara the way the lines are connected here. So we have the Big Dipper, we arc to Arcturus, and then we're going to spike down to the horizon to a star called Spica. Spica is a bluish white star, and on the other side of the temperature spectrum, this is among the hotter stars, or the hottest stars. Blue-white stars are really hot. And it has a magnitude of 1. So therefore, Spica is a magnitude of 1, Arcturus is a magnitude 0, so Arcturus is 2.5 times brighter, apparently, the way it looks in the sky, than Spica is. So if you have binoculars or a small telescope, it's really neat to see the color, the bluish-white color of Spica, which is really dazzling, and the reddish color, the orange-reddish color of Arcturus. And Spica is the brightest star in the constellation of Virgo, the Virgin. And the way that we have the lines connected here, I don't know, kind of looks like a snail's head or a slug or something. But this is Virgo, the Maiden, or Virgo, the Virgin. And Spica is typically shown to represent a sheaf of wheat or an ear of corn in her left hand. So there are some things to look at in the later part of the May sky, early June sky, and I hope that you enjoyed the show. I'm Dave McDonald for the Sky This Month.